Hello. The Divine Code reading for September 3rd, pages 175 and 176. We're now concluding the chapter, Which Actions Would Make One Liable for Idol Worship. Topic number 36. If a sect of idolatry became extinct and is no longer practiced in the world, one who serves the idol in this way, but does not accept it as a deity, is not liable, even though one who performs a customary ritual of an idol is liable even if he does not accept it as a deity. And that was earlier in topic 26. Since the worship of this idol is now extinct and no longer has any special service, therefore, if a Gentile bows down before an idol whose worship became extinct in the world, with no thought to serve it, but instead he bows down for the sake of God, he is not liable. So this would be a case where there was an ancient religion that had an idol, and the ancient religion did services for that idol. That ancient religion no longer exists. It's in the history books, but people don't practice that religion. A person that does something of that religion, the person is trying to serve God, and they think that there's some nature thing or something that they see in an ancient religion. They decide to do that action because it's no longer been, that idol is no longer worshipped by anyone. Then the person is not liable. Now it's a question of whether or not the person should be doing something that they found in an ancient religion. That may still be a difficulty, but the person would not be liable for it. It's not a punishable offense because there's not a group of people that are following that idol. See Responsa of Rambam, chapter 160, where he explains that the Muslims who bow down to God around the Kabbalah stone, the Kabbal stone in Mecca, and in Rambam's time, they would throw stones specifically at it and not at any other statues, are not performing an act of idol worship, since their intention is only to bow down for God. In earlier time, before Mecca was conquered for Islam, the stone was a miraculous, and people used to throw stones at it as a worship ritual at this exact location. However, the Muslims who continued the custom had no intention for it to be a means of worshiping the stone as an idol. So what happened was the Muslims, they instinctified this worship in Mecca. Now it's some question. I mean, it's just like the Catholic Church taking on idols that were in their conquered land and turning them into saints, and then people would pray to it, and then, well, it's not an idol anymore, but the population would still understand it as such. I mean, you don't eradicate something from a population just by making a law against it. So it was a custom that people did. They kept it on as a custom. So they used to pray to some statue, and now they pray to God, but they're doing the prayer in front of the statue, or they're asking the statue to help pray to God for them. So it's still an issue, but it's not an action that makes one liable for idol worship. It's a custom that people did because the old religion had it, and now that they have a less idolatrous, a not idolatrous religion, They're not serving idolatry, but they're still holding on to customs of what they used to do. And in this case, you don't have people that are serving that object as an idol. You know, that's been eradicated. If there was still, you know, if a person came into a town, conquered the town, declared the idol to be no longer valid, but there were still people in the town that were serving the idol, then there could be a concern. And that's what happens with the Catholic Church when they go into an area and the people continued to worship the idol, but now they do it in a technically proper sense. But are they? And people that would still do it as a custom, but they're doing it as part of the more proper religion, but they're still doing that while their neighbors are still doing it clandestinely, they're still serving the idol, would that be an issue? So the case of Mecca at the time, were there people in the town that were worshiping the Kabbalah stone, the Kabbalah stone as an idol, or was that totally eradicated and they were just following an ancient custom? So what it's saying here is that they were following an ancient custom. They weren't there wasn't anyone serving it as an idol. If we explain that even if one intends to disgrace an idol and not accept it as a deity, he is still liable if his action is the customary manner of serving the idol, then why did the intent of the Muslims matter and make them exempt from liability for throwing stones in that location in Mecca? Rather, it must be because the worship of Mercules had already become extinct in the world, as explained by Ron on Tractate of Vodazara, chapter 3. But surely, if they had been throwing stones at it or bowing down to it, while it was still being served by people in the manner of Mercules, they would have been liable. So, because this wasn't a case where they had just conquered this apparently was something that was an idol that had already stopped at the time of the Talmud. So hundreds of years earlier, it had already stopped being an idol. People were still throwing stones at that location as some good luck charm. You know, they weren't doing it as an idol worship. They were just doing it as a custom, and they may not have any memory as to why it was ever done. It was just done. So when the Muslims came in, they continued the custom, but it did not have the attachment at that time to idol worship. And therefore the custom would not be considered an action that makes one liable for idol worship. Chapter 4, the Service of Molech. Topic number 1. Moloch is an ancient type of idol worship. Since the worship of Moloch seems to be extinct today, as was explained in the last topic, once it is not worshipped anymore, it is no longer classified as an idol that one must be concerned about. Why do we write about this subject? There's 2 reasons. First, the precepts of the Torah are eternal and are always to be studied as the divine will. And from the study, one may learn many values and practical points regarding other areas of Torah law and observance, as explained in topic 1, part 1, topic, chapter 7, topic 1, in the notes. Here also, for example, see footnote 146. And 146 will be in 2 days. The reading for 2 days from now. So there's practical value in anything in Torah, and it can be studied by non-Jews. It can be studied for the purpose of the practical value, for the life lessons. The second reason why we write about this subject, it is important to meditate on how low and degrading the worship of idols became, leading people to sacrifice humans or even their own children. Obviously, this happened because threats from the idol's priests that if they didn't sacrifice one of their children, they would suffer such and such imaginary curse or damnation. This convinced the parent to bend his natural trait of mercy to become insensitive or even cruel toward his own child. See Guides for the Perplexed, Volume 3, Chapter 37, page 360. Even though the Molech service, which Rambam describes, did not have the exact ritual of sacrificing or burning the child, still the logical basis of all the idolatry which is impressed upon a person, until they become customary and willing actions in the society, even those that call for the burning of children to death, see topic 7 below, are the same. So there's principles that are involved here that we see the most degraded example, but there's principles that work all the way through idolatry. Moloch is the final stage of idolatry, and there's different opinions about what exactly Moloch was. If it was just the Rambam, which is the more cleaner version, is that they just passed the children between fires, and then there's other understandings that that was one stage, and that there were other stages that involved actually burning the child. But it's important to learn about idolatry, that this is like the stages in idolatry. Topic number 2 for tomorrow. Okay, thank you.